Hello, my name is Olorotimi Osha. Today I want to talk about 5 rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution that every Nigerian in America, every Nigerian American, every person of African descent, every black person, and really every American should know. So these are 5 rights. I'm going to try and make this video short. I got some very helpful feedback that I should try and make shorter videos. So I want to make this short so it can be very helpful. By the way, I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. This is not legal advice. I'm not a licensed attorney. I'm not licensed to practice in the state of Maryland or any state in the United States. So this is just for educational and information purposes, right? So that's a disclaimer. This is not legal advice. Should consult an attorney. I've done a video explaining that not all lawyers are attorneys, but all attorneys are lawyers. So I'm a lawyer. That means I'm legally trained. I have a law degree. I earned a Juris Doctor. Juris Doctor is Latin for Doctor of Law. So I have a Doctor of Law degree from George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C. It's one of the better law schools. So I also did international human rights law, a program at Oxford University of Oxford in the United Kingdom, and I did international. I was an intellectual property law fellow at Bocconi University as an exchange student in Bocconi University in Milan, Italy. There I also did criminal law. So these are very important rights that I want all Nigerians in America, all Africans in America, all people of African descent should know in America, right? Because lawyers, right, it's very difficult, to get to an attorney all the time. Again, this is not legal advice, not substituting for an attorney, but it's important that Americans know their rights. By the way, these rights I'm talking about, it's been determined by the United States Supreme Court that they're applicable to foreign nationals present in America as well, right? Non-U.S. citizens present in America as well, right? So it's even undocumented people, so long as you're present in America. So first, you should know your Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable search and seizure in your home. So long as you're in your home, it protects you from unreasonable search and seizure. So what is unreasonable search and seizure? That means the government doesn't have probable cause. So when we say the government, I'm talking about the police, right? Law enforcement, the police, right? Or federal agents or whoever they are who want to come and arrest you. So, and they don't have probable cause. That means they don't have evidence that you're committing a crime. Importantly, they don't have a warrant, right? So they don't have a warrant. They can't come into your home. So when we say unreasonable search and seizure, people substitute it for illegal search and seizure, right? But it's really unreasonable search and seizure, meaning there's no probable cause, there's no evidence that you're committing a crime, you're in your home. So by the way, and importantly, the most important thing, they don't have a warrant. So anything that a police officer takes from your home, right, if they don't have an arrest warrant and somehow they force their way in and they get anything, any material, any possession, anything they get in your home, it's inadmissible in court. It can't be used as evidence against you because they didn't have a warrant, right? So that's within the exclusionary rule. So very important. Fourth Amendment, very, very important rule. I did a survey and just, interviewing people randomly, and no American that I asked, even educated people, no one knew what the Fourth Amendment was. There was only one person who got it right, and that was someone who was a student at Howard University Law School. Yes, at Howard University Law School, and like typical law schools in America, in my law school, we learned the Fourth Amendment. We studied it. I got to know that Justice Antonin Scalia, who's late now, was an expert jurist on the Fourth Amendment. So Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizure. Sometimes people substitute it for illegal search and seizure. The police don't have an arrest warrant or search warrant. They can't come into your home, and anything they take without a warrant is inadmissible in court. That means they can't use it as evidence against you. So that's the Fourth Amendment, very important. Then there's also the Fifth Amendment, right? The Fifth Amendment, think about Dave Chappelle's video where he was saying fifth, when he had the Chappelle comedy show, and he kept saying the fifth, the fifth, the fifth, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. That's your right not to self-incriminate, your right to be silent, right? It packs a lot of things, a lot of elements, very important elements. It protects you. It gives you the right to a grand jury indictment in any federal felony crime, right? So it also protects you from double jeopardy, right? I'll do other videos to explain what these things are. But importantly, Fifth Amendment, it's your right to be silent. It's your right to due process. So if the violator, if the police officer or the government agent, maybe it's the FBI, for instance, or ICE. ICE is a federal agent. ICE is a federal agency. They're federal agents. If it's them who are violating your rights, they're the ones who are violating your rights, then the Fifth Amendment protects you, gives you due process rights against them. It's your right to have your Miranda rights read to you. That's telling you about your right to be silent, to have a lawyer and things like that. So that's the Fifth Amendment. It also has due process, equal protection of the laws against the federal government, against the federal agents. Maybe it's the FBI. FBI are federal, they're not local, they're not state. So protects you, equal protection, due process as well. Now, the Sixth Amendment, that's your right to a speedy trial, right? So you've been accused of a crime, they've charged you with a crime, they've taken you to court. So it guarantees your right to a speedy trial, right? To have a public trial, to have a jury present. It's your right. You can waive this right to a jury, right? You can waive your right to a jury, but it's your right to have a jury, a public trial, if they've charged you with a crime. And also, you have a right to an attorney. They charge you with a crime, you have a right to an attorney. If you have no money, if you're indigent, you have no money, then the government must pay for an attorney for you unless you waive that right. So you have an absolute right to an attorney. It's not advisable for you to waive your rights. Again, this is not legal advice. You also have the right to confront your accusers, right? If somebody accuses you of something, if there's an informant or whatever, you have a right to have that person in court to cross-examine them. That's your constitutional right. So many people don't know their rights. The right to a speedy and fair trial, to an impartial jury, right? You can't have a rigged jury, a biased jury, an impartial jury of your peers. So that's the Sixth Amendment, very important. And then the 14th. So I've talked about the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, and then there's the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is a very powerful amendment. I know many of us have been talking about the 14th Amendment when it had to do with citizenship clause. It has 5 sections to it. But right now, in terms of your rights, I'm just going to talk about the due process of law rights. So you have a right to due process of law against state intrusion. So if it's a state, not federal now, if the state is the one violating your right, if it's a county police or a state police officer who's come to your house or something, or trying to arrest you, you're entitled to due process of law. They can't take away your life, your liberty, or your property without due process of law. So you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to dispute it. And when I say defend yourself, I'm not talking about like get violent with them. No, the police can't arrest you, the state can't arrest you. They have to take you to court before they can take away your life, your liberty, or your property. They have to take you to court. They have to give you notice, time to appear in court, right? That's due process. And then you have the right to dispute it, to tell them why they shouldn't take away your rights, your privileges. And of course, you're entitled to an impartial tribunal, an impartial judge, not a judge who's in cahoots with the state, with the prosecutor against you. So that's your 14th Amendment. You also have equal protection of the laws. So they can't target you specifically because of your race or anything, right? So you have equal protection of the laws. The rights they have that other Americans have, you share those rights as well. So that's the 14th. And then the final right that I want to mention is the First Amendment. We know the First Amendment from freedom of speech, your freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right? You have a right to publish your opinion. You have a right to have an opinion, right? the government can't stifle what you say, so long as you're not, threatening to kill the president or anything like that. But you have a right, because they have special rules. So the exemptions within some of these things, the nuances that they use. So you have to be very careful, because we have a history in which people have been killing presidents in the United States. So they created a little caveat, right, regarding your freedom of expression, right? So you have a freedom of speech, freedom to publish, freedom to have an opinion, freedom of religion. Nobody can tell you not to practice your religion. When you come to America, America can't establish a religion. They can't impose on you that you have to be a Christian, you have to go to church, or you have to be a Muslim, you have to go to the mosque. No. Freedom of a religion, freedom not to have a religion. So that's the First Amendment. It has several elements. You also have the freedom of association, right? Freedom of association, freedom to assemble. You have the freedom to petition the government. If you have a grievance, a problem, you have a right to file a complaint, as many complaints as you want. So they can't stifle you or create a chilling effect and say, well, you filed too many complaints. I was recently told that I filed a number of complaints, right, and that made them think something bizarre, and so they wanted to take away my rights because of that. No, that's a violation of the First Amendment. You have a right to petition the government. So hope this helps. I try to keep it short. It's under 15 minutes. I'll do other videos and talk more about your constitutional rights. Again, this is not legal advice. My name's Olurotimi Osha. I'll keep you posted. Thank you.